Charitamrita today.
Yeah.
Chapter 3,
Okay.
Shloka 81, Adi Lila. 381.
381.
Adi
Yeah.
Lila.
I will show you.
Thank you. Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Manachari Jamuna Tira Manachari Jamuna Tira Manachari Jamuna Tira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya 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 Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur, Hari Gaur, Hari Gaur, Hari Gaur, Hari Gaur. Nitai Gaur, Hari Gaur, Hari Gaur, Hari Gaur, Hari Gaur. Jai Shri Guru Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Hare Krishna. Okay. Can we make this bigger? How do you expand? So I recorded this song on one of my CDs in 1986, which was the 500th anniversary of the appearance day of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's a beautiful song written by Narottam Das Thakur. Gauranga Karuna Karo Dinohina Jane Mosamapatita Prabhu Nahi True Bhuvane. Gauranga karuna karo dinahina jane mosamapatita Prabhu nahi tribhuvane. Can you turn the mic off for the flute because he's not playing the right raga? He can play, but turn off his mic. Date trina dari Gaura taki etamare Kripa kori esho amar hridoya mandire. যদি দয় না করিবে পতিত দেখিয়া পতিত পাবন নাম কিসের লাগিয়া। যদি দয়া না করিবে পতিত দেখিয়া পতিত পাবন নাম কিসের লাগিয়া। পড়েছি ভব তুফানে নাহি কো নিস্তার শ্রীচরণ তরণে দানে যাসে কর পার। Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jasir Anudas Prarthana Karaye Sada Narottama Das. Chaitanya Prabhu Jasir Anudas Prarthana Karaye Sada Narottama Das. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gauranga Karuna Karo Dinahina Jane Moshamopasita Prabhu Nahi Bhuvane. Gauranga Karuna Karo Dinahina Jane Moshama Patita Prabhu Nahi Bhuvane. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jaya 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 Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki. So in this song, in the first verse, Narottam is singing. It was fine. Gauranga Karuna Koro. O Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, give your mercy to who? Dina Hina Jane, to all the persons who are the most fallen. Mosama patit Prabhu nahi tribhuvane. And of all the fallen people, there's no one as fallen as me, Narottam says, nahi tribhuvane, in all of the three worlds. Dante trina dari Gaura, with grass in my mouth, between my teeth, I fall down at your lotus feet, Daki he tomare, and I'm calling out to you, Kripa kori esho amar, hriday mandire. By your mercy, please enter into the temple of my heart. The mandir, hriday mandir. That's the Antare Mandir. This is the By Hg Mandir. So he's saying, Antare Mandir, in the temple of my heart, you please come and take your seat on the asan there. Jadi daya na koribe, if you don't give your mercy, Patita Dekiya, seeing how fallen I am, Patita Pavan Nama, then the name that you're given as the fallen, the lifter of the most fallen, then doesn't have any meaning. If you don't save me, who's the most fallen, then what is the meaning of Patit Pavan? There's no meaning. Not if I'm very clever. Purechi Bhava Tufane Nahiko Nistar. I have fallen into this material world in a cyclone of material suffering, nahiko nistar, and there's no way of me getting out. There's no way I can get out of this suffering. Sri Charone Tarani Dane Dase Koropar. But by the lotus feet, the boat of your lotus feet, you give the benediction of the boat of your lotus feet, and then you save this servant of yours. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daser Anudas, Prarthana Koroye Sada Narottama Das. So Narottama Das, who is the eternal servant of the servant of the servant of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, is always offering this prayer. That's the song. Yeah. We don't need this. You can put here. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we're reading from...
I'll just increase the volume.
So we're reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 3, shloka 81. And this chapter, Krishnadas Kaviraj is speaking about Gaur Tattva. So we should fully understand Gaur Tattva on this day of Gauranga's appearance day. So there's several verses where he explains the deep meaning, So I have picked this particular one because it relates to us today in Kali Yuga, because we're part of the Sankirtan movement. Anta Krishnam Bahir Darshitanga Divaibhavam Kalo Sankirtanadjai Sma Krishna Chaitanya Mashritaha Anta Krishnam Bahir Darshitanga Divaibhavam Kalo Sankirtanadjai Sma Krishna Chaitanya Mashritaha Anta Krishnam Bahir Darshitanga Divaibhavam Kalo Sankirtanadjai Sma Krishna Chaitanya Mashritaha.
Anta Krishnam Bahir Gaura Darshitanga Divaibhavam Kalo Sankirtanayate.
No, it's not showing there. Krishna Chaitanya Mashritaha.
Krishna Chaitanya Mashritaha.
Oh, this is controlling that. Okay, I didn't know.
Put this is more.
More Shakti. Okay. Anta internally. Krishnam, Lord Krishna. Bahi externally. Gauram, fair-colored. Darshita, displayed. Anga, limbs. Adi, beginning with. Vaibhavam, expansions. Kalo, in the age of Kali. Sankirtana Ajay, by congregational chanting, etc. Sma, certainly. Krishna Chaitanya, unto Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ashitaha, shelter. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. I take shelter of Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is outwardly of a fair complexion, but is inwardly Krishna himself. In this age of Kali, he displays his expansions, his angas and upangas, by performing congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Srila Jiva Goswami has placed the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, quoted in text 52, Krishna Varnyam Tvisha Krishnam. This is the shloka that's attributed to Karabhajan Muni. He's quoted that shloka as the auspicious introduction to his Bhagavat Sandarbha. Jiva Goswami has a Sat Sandarbha, and one of them is the Bhagavat Sandarbha, and this is how he begins and opens the Bhagavat Sandarbha. He has composed this text, 81, which is, in effect, an explanation of the Bhagavatam verse as the second verse of the same work. The verse from Srimad Bhagavatam was enunciated by Karabhajan, one of the 9 great sages, and it is elaborately explained by the Sarva Sambandini, Jiva Goswami's commentary on his own Sat Sandarbha. So on the Sandarbhas, Jiva Goswami is writing them like Vedanta Sutras. He's writing the sutras, giving the essence of Tattva, that Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadi Radhi Govinda Sarvakaranam. And then he wrote a commentary on his own book, explaining each of the shlokas in great detail. Anta Krishna refers to one who is always thinking of Krishna. This attitude is a predominant feature of Srimati Radharani. Even though many devotees always think of Krishna, none can surpass the gopis, among whom Radharani is the leader in thinking of Krishna. Radharani's Krishna consciousness surpasses that of all other devotees. Lord Chaitanya accepted the position of Srimati Radharani to understand Krishna. Therefore, he was always thinking of Krishna in the same way as Radharani. By thinking of Lord Krishna, he always overlapped Krishna. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who was outwardly very fair, with a complexion like molten gold, simultaneously manifested his eternal associates, his opulences, his expansions and incarnations. He preached the process of chanting Hare Krishna, and those who are under his lotus feet, all of you, are glorious. Anta Krishnam Bahir Gauram Darshinangadi Vaibhavam Kalo Sankirtanam Yajyasma Krishna Chaitanyam Ashrita. Krishna Chaitanyam Ashrita, I take shelter of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anta Krishna, internally, he's Krishna. Bahir Gaura. Externally, he's Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Internally, he's Sri Krishna. Darshitanga Divaibhavam. And he has manifested all his opulences and all his associates and everything having to do with it. Kalo Sankirtana Adjaisma. So he came in the Kali Yuga to inaugurate the Sankirtan Yajna. And that's why we take shelter of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. So Prabhupada is saying that this shloka was very dear also to Jiva Goswami. And he began his auspicious introduction to his famous book, the Bhagavad Sandarbha, which is one of the Sandarbhas of the Sat Sandarbhas. There are 6. And he opened it with this shloka. It's so important. This is an explanation of the Bhagavatam verse, what he has written in the Bhagavad Sandarbha is an explanation of this shloka. The verse from Srimad Bhagavatam was enunciated originally by Karabhajan Muni, who is one of the great sages of South India. And it's elaborately explained by Jiva Goswami in his own commentary, Sarva Sambandini. So, always thinking of Krishna, Anta Krishna. Anta Krishna means eternally, internally, or Antaranga Shakti. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna because he's always thinking of Krishna. He's in the mood of Radharani, but Radharani is always thinking of Krishna, therefore Anta Krishna. He's always absorbed in Krishna, the mood of Krishna, thinking of Krishna, feeling separation from Krishna, remembering Krishna's pastimes, remembering Krishna's holy names, thinking of Krishna's beautiful forms and his wonderful qualities. This is the mood of Radharani. And so Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in this same mood of Radharani. So how this came about was that Krishna became a little bewildered. We can use the word bewildered because Krishna knows everything. But there's one thing that he didn't know. How is it possible that I don't know this one thing? And what was that one thing he didn't know? What is this love that Radharani has for me? I have never seen such love for anybody that Radharani is expressing. And one other thing that Krishna wanted to understand is, what is Radharani experiencing in this love that she's having for me? What kind of nectar is she tasting from that love that she has for me? Krishna wanted to know, what is that love and what is that nectar that Radharani is experiencing by this love she has for me, this prema, this Krishna prema. And then the third thing that Krishna wanted to understand, because he couldn't understand it, he didn't know, what is it about me that attracts such love of Radharani? Krishna looked at his reflection. What is it about this that Radharani sees that brings out this amazing love? That even my love for everybody cannot even compare to this love that Radharani is experiencing. So he contemplated, how can I understand the love of Radharani? And what she's experiencing by that love. And what does she see in me that brings out this love? So he came to the conclusion, the only way that I can understand the love of Radharani is if I accept the mood of Radharani. And I come down to the material world as a devotee of Krishna to try and experience the love that Radharani has for Krishna. So Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he assumed the external bhava and the internal bhava of Radharani. So he wanted to experience the Krishna Bhavnamrit that Radharani was experiencing. And so to do this, he introduced the Sankirtan movement so that others could come to understand this also. And that's why Srila Prabhupada has founded this movement as the Antarashtriya Krishna Bhavnamrit Sangha, the Sangha of those devotees who are tasting the nectar of Krishna Bhavna, the Amrit of Krishna Bhavna. And the person who has founded this society, he was tasting that Krishna Bhavna Amrit. And he's introducing us, he's welcoming us into that understanding. So Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he came for two particular reasons. The first reason, as I have already explained, and as this verse explains, he wanted to understand what is that love of Radharani. What is she experiencing? What nectar is she experiencing? And what is it about me, about Krishna, about myself, that brings out this love of Radharani? Then the second reason he came was that the opportunity for the Yuga avatar presented itself. Every Yuga has an avatar. So when that opportunity presented itself, now is the time for another avatar, Krishna avatar. Let me come now as Gauranga Mahaprabhu in the mood of Radharani to give the Yuga Dharma. So externally, he came to give the Yuga Dharma for everybody in Kali Yuga. But internally, he came for himself to understand what is this love that Radharani has for me. so that he could experience that love and understand the depth of that Mahabhav that Radharani has. So these two reasons. So in the beginning, when he first came, he didn't exhibit any of these two reasons for his descent, for his avatar. And Advaita Acharya and Haridas Thakur, who had prayed to the Lord that Kali Yuga is now becoming so bad, this was 500 years ago, 550 years ago, that Kali Yuga was so degraded, what to speak of today. If they could see it today, oh my God. But anyway, 550 years ago, they were thinking it's so degraded. My dear Lord Krishna, you please advent and save everyone in Kali Yuga because it's getting so bad. So then Nimai took his birth from Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mata. And in the courtyard of their home was a beautiful neem tree. And that birth took place under that neem tree. And therefore the wife of Advaita Acharya, Sita Thakurani, who was there, the ladies were there, the men weren't there, just the ladies, because when the birth is given, the men aren't allowed in, only the ladies. And she said, this child, he's so beautiful, he's so golden. Because they wanted to give him a wonderful name. So they said, she said, why don't we call him Nimai, because he was born under this tree, the neem tree. Neem tree is very antiseptic and purifying, kills all germs, kills all negativity. So this child, he born under the neem tree, this is very auspicious. Then an astrologer was also contacted, and he did the chart for the birth of Nimai, and he said, this is an amazing chart. This child will grow up and he will save the entire world. Therefore, you should call him Vishvambar. So the name given by the astrologer was Vishvambar. But the name given by Sita Thakurani was Nimai. So for a little baby, Vishvambar is too big of a name. So they liked the name Nimai better. So they called him Little Nimai, like this, like Narottam, for example. Narottam is a big name, but when Narottam Thakur was born, everybody called him Naru. Oh, my little Naru, so beautiful little Naru, because every child has a pet name. So Naru was the pet name of Narottam Thakur, and Nimai was the pet name of Vishvambar. But the name stuck. He became so well known and so popular and so beloved by everyone that even when he grew up, he was known as Nimai. He hardly ever used the name Vishvambar, although that was his so-called legal name. So, Nimai. And he was a great Pandit. He was known as, when he grew up, as Nimai Pandit, because he had studied all the Shastras. He knew every Shastra, he knew every Tattva. But Advaita Acharya and Haridas Thakur, they were thinking, well, when is he going to exhibit his mercy? Kripa Koro, give your mercy. Patit Pavan, to the Dino-hino Jane, to the conditioned souls. Don't be a jnani. They were disappointed in one sense. They were, of course, they loved him and he was the greatest scholar and everybody admired and glorified him. But they were saying, when will he exhibit his bhav? When will he exhibit the dhane, that benediction of delivering all of conditioned souls? So that didn't happen for some time. And he became well known as a Pandit. But then Jagannath Mishra, his father, passed away. And there was great sorrow and lamentation in the home. And everyone in Navadvip in those days, they were shocked. And they were feeling great separation, and so was Nimai, because they loved his Jagannath Mishra so much. Then a year later was the time to do the Shraddha ceremony, offer Pinda. So Nimai Pandit, he went to Gaya to do this at the famous temple, the Vishnu Pada temple in Gaya. Now in Gaya, there was a great saint living there, and his name was Ishwarapuri. Ishwarapuri was a direct disciple of Madhavendra Puri. And Ishwarapuri used to travel and preach, because that's what great saints do. And so he would come to Navadvip as one of his places for preaching. And regularly he would come and preach in the homes of the different brahmanas in Navadvip. And one of the homes that he would come to regularly to give Harikatha and also to take prasad was the home of Jagannath Mishra. So he knew baby Nimai, and he saw Nimai as he was growing up. As he was coming from time to time, he would see Nimai. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to offer to do this Shraddha for his father in the temple, Ishwarapuri was there also. He said, Nimai, oh, what are you doing here in Gaya? And Nimai said, oh, my father, he has passed. You know, I'm here to do the Shraddha ceremony. And my whole mood has changed now. He says, well, what has happened? Well, I've come to realize the impermanence of the material world. Everyone must die. And when they die, it causes great sorrow to everyone who loves that person. They're feeling so much separation. And so I think now I have to start a new chapter of my life. Instead of speaking about tattva, I have to start living the tattva, the bhakti tattva. And I think I'm ready now to take diksha. You please, I accept you as my guru. You please accept me as your shishya and initiate me into this bhakti tattva. So Ishwarapuri said, that's fine. So tomorrow you come to my home. Samko, in the afternoon, after you take your afternoon meal, you come in the afternoon and I will do this diksha yajna for you. So Nimai, he did the Shraddha ceremony, and then the next day he went to see Ishwarapuri, and Ishwarapuri initiated him into the Bhakti Tattva and gave him the mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And he said, now we have given you entrance into this eternal parampara of Bhakti Tattva, going back to Sri Krishna Bhagavan. So you chant this mantra and your life will become successful. Your heart and your mind will become purified and you will experience Bhava and Krishna Prema. So you follow this mantra chanting. So Mahaprabhu thanked him very much. He gave him mala. And he went back to his residence, well, to where he was staying. Then later that evening, Ishwarapuri was taking rest, and all of a sudden there was a loud knocking on his door. And he was thinking, who is knocking so loudly on my door at this late hour? So he went to open the door, and there was Nimai. And his hair was all over the place, and his dhoti was full of dust and dirt. And Ishwarapuri was shocked. Oh, Nimai, please come in. Please take a seat. Let me get you some water. What has happened to you? He was thinking that he was attacked by some robbers, some dacoits. Please tell me what happened, how I can be of service to you. So Nimai said, Guru Maharaj, I only have one question. What is your question? What kind of a mantra have you given me? Ishwarapuri was shocked. What kind of mantra I've given you? This is the mantra by which we initiate people into the Bhakti Ras Tapa. This is the standard mantra. Everyone receives this mantra. Why are you asking? Well, after you gave me that mantra, I went back to where I was staying, that residence, and I sat down and I started chanting that mantra. And as I started chanting that mantra, tears came to my ears, my eyes, tears came to my eyes, and the hairs on the back of my neck and on my arms started to stand on end, and my heart began palpitating, and my breathing became very difficult. I tried to stand up, and I couldn't stand up, and I was falling down. And I kept chanting that mantra, and I was rolling on the ground, and I was thinking, I'm going mad. What kind of a mantra have you given me? And Ishwarapuri said, this is amazing. Overnight, you were already experiencing the Asta Sattvika Bhavas for chanting the holy names. It takes lifetimes for people to come to this platform of ecstatic love, Krishna Prema, and you're experiencing in a couple of hours. This is amazing. And so he calmed him down and explained to him that you're now tasting Krishna Prema. Your life is successful. Now you go out and you share this Krishna Prema with everybody. So this was the Diksha event of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So when he returned to Navadvip, because in those days you walked. People were hale and hearty. They were very strong. They would walk like you walking from here to Delhi, that would be nothing for them. They could easily walk that in a couple of hours. So he walked from Gaya, well, first Navadvip to Gaya, and now he's walking back from Gaya to Navadvip. And as he's walking back, he's singing the Mahamantra. He's no longer chanting, he's singing, because when you sing, you open up your heart. Sankirtan. We have here the word Sankirtana Ajay, that he inaugurated, he began the Sankirtan movement. This is when he began it. He was singing with his arms in the air, and he was dancing back on the road to Navadvip. And as he was walking along, people would see him. He would pass villages, everyone would see, and many people became attracted. Who is this saint? Who is this sadhu who is singing in such ecstasy, with such love, the names of Krishna? And so people would leave their work in the fields, they would leave their homes in the villages, and they would follow him. And as he was going, more and more people from more and more villages were all following him. So by the time that he reached the outskirts of Navadvip, he had a huge crowd. Thousands and thousands of people were all chanting along with him, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then word spread through Navadvip. Nimai has returned from Gaya, and he's a changed person. He's in ecstasy, he's singing, he's dancing. Thousands of people are accompanying him. And Advaita Acharya and Haridas Thakur, they were in Shantipur. And they got the news. A messenger came and told them. They rushed up to Navadvip. And they were joyfully dancing. They were hugging each other and dancing. Now we're seeing that Nimai Pandit is now at last experiencing the bhav of Krishna Prema. This is what we had prayed for. And now he's already engaged so many people in chanting. Now the world will be saved from this horrible effects of Kali Yuga. So this was the beginning. So then, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it says in the shloka that he manifested all his opulences, everything, including his associates, anga, his various limbs, his anga. His angas are the 5 angas, the Panchatattva. So there's Mahaprabhu, then there's Nityananda, there's Advaita, there's Gadadhar, and there's Srivas. This Panchatattva. And we're following in the footsteps of the Panchatattva because they are delivering the fallen conditioned souls of Kali Yuga under the direction of Gaura Mahaprabhu. So then what happened was that Mahaprabhu wanted to continue his kirtans in the home of Srivas Thakur. Srivas Thakur offered his home. He said, look, I have a wonderful home, a big courtyard. You want to do kirtan, you come here every night. Because during the day, people have duties to take care of. So in Samko, in the evening, when duties are finished, then the people were free. So kirtan began to go on. And more people were joining those kirtans. And Nimai became very famous and very popular. Now the Brahmanas in the Navadvip temples, they were not feeling as happy as everybody else because they were seeing that Nimai was attracting all the attention of everybody. Everybody was only talking about him. Everyone was chanting Hare Krishna. And the Brahmanas in the temple were feeling that they were being neglected. In other words, they became envious. They weren't the well-wisher. They didn't come and join in the kirtans. They were thinking, why everybody going to Nimai? Why everybody is following him? So we have to put a stop to this, but how can we do it? Then they came up with a plan, because Navadvip in those days was under the jurisdiction and authority of the Muslims. The Nawab, who was situated in Bengal, and his magistrate was in the town of Navadvip representing the Nawab. His name was Chand Kazi. So they said, let's go to Chand Kazi and make a proposition that this Nimai, he's taking this mantra that should be chanted only in the precincts of the temple that's purified. And he's taking this sacred mantra and he's giving it to everybody, to all the riffraff, all the Shudras, everybody. And in this way, the Varnashram system will be destroyed and they will be thinking they become free. They can do whatever they want, and this will cause a disturbance in the community. So the last thing that a magistrate wants is a disturbance in the community. If everything is calm and peaceful, then his job is easy. But if there's a disturbance, then he's not happy. So that was the first point they made. The second point they made is that we're following Dharma, and these mantras should be chanted in the sacred temples. So by taking this mantra out to the people, out where it's not sanctified, where pop is going on, that Dharma will be destroyed. He's going to destroy Dharma. So they made these two proposals to Chand Kazi. So Chand Kazi could understand that if this goes on, Dharma is going to be destroyed. There'll be a disturbance in the community. The Nawab is not going to be pleased with my seva here. This is not good. I have to put a stop to this. So he arranged that one afternoon, while the kirtan was going on, he arranged for officers of the law to come, he came with them and stopped the kirtan. One of the officers took the mridanga from the mridanga player and smashed it on the ground. And Chandkazi said, now this is just a warning. No more kirtan. If you want to follow your dharma and chant mantras, you do it in the temple, not out here with thousands of people. And then he said, if this goes on, then jail. Nimai, you will be in jail. Everyone else. So he left. And everybody, all the townspeople of Navadvip who had been so happy and joyful, they became very disconsolate. Oh, just when we thought we had some hope in life, now again we're being squashed. But Nimai said, no, don't worry. We will not follow this new directive by the magistrate. We will do a civil disobedience. You all go to your homes and you tell your family members, your relatives, your friends, and your neighbors to come here tomorrow to my home. And we'll have a gigantic kirtan as a civil disobedience in defiance of the Qazi's order. So this was the first civil disobedience movement in India, 400 years before the advent of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi's civil disobedience movement, he got the idea from Gauranga. So the next day everybody gathered and Lord Chaitanya said, you bring flags, you bring banners, you bring conch shells, drums, kartals, everything. We're going to have a humongous kirtan and we're going to defy this order. And so they started this kirtan. And it was an unbelievable kirtan. And then in the middle of the kirtan, Nityananda Prabhu said, why don't we take this kirtan through the streets of Navadvip right to the home of Chandkazi. Let him know directly we are defying your order. That he doesn't hear it secondhand, he experiences it directly. Mahaprabhu said, very good idea. So this was the first Nagar Sankirtan through the streets of Navadvip. And of course, as they were going through the streets, more and more people would come out of their homes, out of their shops, and join in. So then they arrived in front of the home of Chandkazi, a huge crowd. Now Chandkazi was just finishing his evening namaz. They do namaz, the Muslims. And he was thinking of taking his meal when all of a sudden his servant comes rushing in. Come quickly, there's a big disturbance in the community. Really? What's going on? It's Nimai Pandit. He's got thousands of people, they're defying your order. And he's here in front of your house. Chandkazi, he became terrified. He ran to the back of the house into his room and locked the door. Because that's their mood. They're conquerors. They go and conquer others. And when they see a challenge, they think, oh, now they're going to conquer us back. They don't understand what is preaching, that we do it with love. So Nityananda said, Lord Chaitanya said to Nityananda, you go knock on the door of Chandkazi, tell him that we're here peacefully, and we would like to have a discussion based on Shastra about his new ordinance of no chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So Nityananda went, spoke to the servant, he brought the Kazi back, and Lord Chaitanya and the Kazi sat together on the veranda, and Lord Chaitanya explained to him let's discuss your ordinance. We can discuss according to Vedas, or we can discuss according to Quran, whatever. So Chankazi said, well, Quran, that's authoritative. I'm convinced the Quran is very authoritative, directly speaking the words of Allah. Mahaprabhu said, fine. And then he started quoting all these Arabic shlokas from the Quran, saying that the holy names of Allah should be chanted with arms lifted, with dancing and loud voices everywhere you go. It's right there in the Quran. And he defeated the Qazi completely. So the Qazi said, oh my God, you're right. I have done wrong. The holy name of the Lord should be sung everywhere, not just in one specific place. It's meant for everybody, to be distributed everywhere for the benefit of every living entity. So then he said to Mahaprabhu, so now I will rescind my order. Kirtan, from now on, as long as I am the magistrate in Navadvip, and all my descendants are also here in Navadvip, Kirtan shall go on undisturbed. And so it is to this day. People come from all over India and now from all over the world to do Nagar Kirtan in Navadvip. And one of the places that they all do go for, because they visit different parts of the town, they go to where there's the memorial, the shrine of Chankazi, and they encircle it, chanting the holy names. So Chankazi, he got a benefit indirectly. He got the mercy of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Patit Pavan Nama Kishel Lagia, Narottam Das Thakur sings. That what is the meaning of calling you Patit Pavan if you don't deliver everybody, including the Muslims, including Chankazi, every single living entity? So this was the beginning of the Sankirtan movement. So this was one of the reasons that Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. So the first phase of his life, he was Nimai Pandit, the scholar. And he knew every Shastra. Not every Vedic Shastra, he knew every Shastra. He knew the Quran, he knew the Bible, he knew everything. He studied everything. Because he's Bhagavan. And his second phase of his life, he did the Sankirtan movement. He traveled all over India and spread the chanting of the holy names to every town and village in India. And then the third phase of his life, well, so we had the Adi Leela, then the Madhya Leela, and then the Anja Leela, the third phase of his life. He went into the Gambhir and was just trying to experience what is this love that Radharani has for Krishna. And so the last 12 years of his life, he was only in the ecstasy of Krishna Prema. So this is Gauranga Mahaprabhu. He is the founder of the Antarashtriya Krishna Bhavnamrit Sangha, which Prabhupada has taken all over the world and translated it as the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. But the translation from Sanskrit, Antarashtriya Krishna Bhavnamrit Sangha, into English and German and French and Spanish, it's not as accurate as the Sanskrit, because there's no such word as Bhavnamrit in any other language. So Prabhupada was thinking, how am I going to translate Bhavnamrit, the nectar you're tasting for your feelings for Krishna? The closest thing he could come to was consciousness, that you're thinking about Krishna. But Bhavnamrit is not here, it's here. And that's one thing that Prabhupada taught me directly. He said, Krishna consciousness is an affair of the heart. He said it's an affair of the heart. We're having an affair with Krishna in our hearts. It's a loving affair. So that's Bhavnamrit. So we are also fortunate to be living in Bharat Bhumi, Punya Bhumi, because we can understand what's Bhavnamrit. All the other countries, they cannot understand Bhavnamrit. Krishna consciousness is nice, but Bhavnamrit is the next level. So you now have to take your Krishna consciousness to the next level, to the Krishna Bhavnamrit level. And in this way, you'll inundate everybody in Guru Gram. And Guru Gram will become Guru Gram, the village of the Guru, Srila Prabhupada. Let people know that Guru Gram means Prabhupada Gram. We should all be followers and following the Sanatan Dharma. This is Sanatan Dharma, the Bhakti Marg. Forget all those other margs, forget all those dharmas. Sarva Dharman Parityaja. Prabhupada commented, he spoke at length that the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is hearing Krishna, and Krishna is telling him to follow Dharma. He's establishing Dharma all the way to the 18th chapter. And then the 18th chapter he says, well, actually, Sarva Dharma Parityaja. You just abandon all those dharmas. Forget about them. Mame Kang Sharanam. You just surrender to me. This is Sanatan Dharma. And in that purport of chapter 18, shloka 66, Prabhupada explains why we give up those other dharmas. Because they're temporary dharmas. They're dharmas of the material world. They relate to the material body. Just like, for example, we have the Kshatriya Dharma. That means you're a male. You're fighting for a cause. You're administrating. You're managing. Kshatriya Dharma. But you're attached to beautiful women. So the next life, you become a woman. And then you have to follow Stri Dharma. Now you're following Stri Dharma. Every life you follow a different Dharma. So Prabhupada said these are all temporary dharmas. They're not Sanatan Dharma. And then he went deeper and he said that these temporary dharmas are actually concocted dharmas. Because our material body is a concocted idea of ourselves. It's not our real self. It's not our real identity. We're suffering an identity crisis. We're thinking we're the body. I'm thinking I'm male. I'm thinking I'm female. Therefore, I follow this dharma or that dharma. But actually, you're Nitya Krishna Das. Therefore, you should follow Sanatan Dharma. Mame Kam Sharanam. Vraja. Vraja is a very interesting word. You surrender to me, Krishna says Vraja. Vraja means just like everybody in Vraja Bhumi surrenders to me. The same. Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. But Vraja also has a different meaning. Vrajana in Sanskrit means Tirtha Parikrama. So Mamekam Sharanam Vraja means you surrender, make me number one in your life wherever you go. So I accepted that meaning, wherever you go. But Prabhupada explains, wherever you go, you think of Krishna, you surrender to him. And because I was meditating on the deep meaning, Krishna inspired me and said that actually, wherever you go, there's a deeper meaning. What is that deeper meaning? You know, Krishna says that he fulfills the desires of the devotees. Everybody know that? Krishna fulfills your desires? My desire was to know what is the deeper meaning. So Krishna revealed that to me because he explains this in Bhagavad Gita 10.10 and also Bhagavad Gita 15.15. Sarvasya chaham hridhi svanivishta matta smritir jnanam. From me comes knowledge and remembrance. And he also says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam yanam yena mamu payantite. I give you that understanding, that intelligence, so you can come to me. So mamekam sharanam vraja doesn't mean, it means wherever you go, but it also means when you go somewhere, you're taking a step, you're walking. So the deep meaning is you surrender to Krishna every step you take. Every step you take, wherever you go. You go to the temple room, that's every step you take. You go to the prasadam room, every step you take. You go to the ashram, every step you take, you're surrendered to Krishna. Therefore, we should be chanting every step, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And this we can do in our mind. Every time you're walking somewhere, in your mind, just every step, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Or you can do 2 names to every step. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I do both. This way, you fulfill that. And now this is the Sanatana Dharma, not the concocted Dharma based on your body. One life of brahmachari, next life grihini. So in all cases, you follow the Sanatana Dharma. So this is the teaching of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it begins with the Sankirtan movement. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Gauranga Avirbhav Titi Mahotshava ki jai. Kono prashna hai?
Question? Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. We have another Prabhupada disciple among us. His name is Gaura.
So if there's no questions,
No questions?
if there's no questions, then I want to tell a Leela. One time when I was a brahmachari in Los Angeles temple, Prabhupada had come and he gave a class and he asked for questions. Nobody raised their hand. So he looked around the room and again he said, does anybody have a question? Nobody lifted their hand. Sometimes people were afraid to raise their hand because maybe my question is foolish. I don't want to appear foolish in front of a spiritual pastor. So no one answered a question. So then Prabhupada said, then I will ask questions. So Prabhupada said, are you experiencing bliss chanting Hare Krishna? Everybody said yes. And he said, when you're dancing in the kirtan in front of the arti, in front of the Sri Murti, are you experiencing ecstasy? Are you experiencing happiness and joy? And everybody said yes. And then Prabhupada asked his third question. When you're honoring Mahaprasad, are you feeling ecstasy and joy? And everyone said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada said, that is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's 3-point program: chanting, dancing, and honoring Mahaprasad. So that is the 3-point program of the Sankirtan movement. So I just wanted to share that with you. Now, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada hirdharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, that sometimes the dharma becomes diminished, becomes even lost, forgotten, and adharma rises. And at that time, I advent myself. I have to come to reestablish the dharma. And how does he do that? And how do we know who is the avatar who's coming, representing Krishna to reestablish the Dharma. And he gives the symptoms. Paritranaya sadhunam, to protect the devotees. Vinashaya chaduskritam, to annihilate the miscreants. And that exactly describes Lord Narasingha Bhagavan, whose Avirbhav Titi is coming very soon, in another 6 or 7 weeks. So Sri Narasingha Dev, he is also coming to fulfill the Sanatana Dharma, to destroy the Adharma and advance the Sanatana Dharma, to protect the devotees and to annihilate the non-devotees. So we should honor and serve Lord Narasingha just like Prahlad Maharaj. Now, Krishna says in that Bhagavad Gita shloka that I quoted, Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vaja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayisyami ma suchaha. That when we surrender to Krishna, every step we take, and give up other dharmas and accept only the Sanatana Dharma, what happens? Krishna wipes away all our pap from the previous lives. The past pap karma, the present pap karma, and the future pap karmas that we will commit when we get to the future. And mokshayisyami, he will deliver us back home to enter into his Nitya Leela. And then he says, Ma Suchaha. Ma Suchaha means don't worry. Don't have any doubts. Because Arjuna, he was lamenting. He was worried. If I engage in this fighting against Bhishma Dev, who's worshipable for me, and my teachers, Dronacharya, Kripacharya, and my friends and relatives, it's a great adharma. I have great doubts. I cannot fight. I'm losing my memory. The Gandiva bow is slipping from my hand. Krishna, I cannot fight. So then Krishna has to speak the Bhagavad Gita. So then in this shloka, he's saying, so ma suchaha, don't worry, don't have doubts. So when someone says to you, don't have doubts about what I'm saying, it means, trust me. Trust me what I'm saying. Ma suchaha is a negative way, don't have any doubts. The positive way is saying, trust me. So Krishna's asking us to trust him. And which devotee showed the greatest trust in our Srimad Bhagavatam? That's Prahlad Maharaj. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu loved that seventh canto. He loved the prayers of our little 5-year-old boy, Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj, after Lord Nrsimha Dev came and destroyed everyone, everyone was terrified. Even Lord Brahma was terrified. He said to Prahlad, you go offer a garland to Nrsimha, maybe you can calm him down. Prahlad was not afraid. He was never afraid all the ways that Hiranyakashipu tried to kill him. He never had any doubts. He fully trusted Krishna. Even when he was thrown off the cliff and he was falling. At any moment he was going to hit the earth. And Prahlad Maharaj is thinking, oh, Krishna is waiting for the last second to save me. He never had any doubt. And at the last second, he saves. So we should not have any doubts. So we should follow in the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj. So this book here is a wonderful coffee table book. It's not opened yet. We can open it. It's all color. Every page is color photographs of the murtis of the lost temples in Bharat. One devotee, Dhruva Das, he went traveling to all the Narasingha temples because he was a Narasingha Bhakta. When he was 5 years old, he entered the Gurukula in New Vrindavan, Nava Vrindavan in America. And his father was the temple president. And in that temple, they had a Narasingha Murti. So when Dhruva heard the pastimes of Narasingha, and he adopted the mood of Prahlad Maharaj. And he went to his father and he said, "Do you mind if I do puja to our Narasingha Murti in the temple?" So the temple president, his father, said, "Yeah, you can do." Fathers will always encourage the son. So the other devotees couldn't say anything because the temple president had said yes. So he grew up as a young boy to a young man every day doing the puja to Narasingha. And then when he was 18, he decided, I have to go now to India, to the place where Lord Narasingha appeared and killed and destroyed Hiranyakashipu, to Ahovalam. So he went there, and he was in ecstasy. And all the sadhus there, the pujaris, all the managers, everybody involved with the temple, they were in ecstasy seeing this young American boy who loved so much Narasingha. And he was in ecstasy, everyone was in ecstasy. After about a week there, he was thinking, well, I would like to go visit some other Narasingha temples. So he asked the head pujari there, "Can you please tell me where I can visit other Narasingha temples?" And the pujari said, "Other Narasingha temples? This is the one. You don't have to consider others. This is the original. You just stay here." And Dhruva he was thinking, well, I want to see the other temples, not just the one. It's nice that Pujari's attached to his one temple. But they wouldn't tell him. So he went back to America. He brought his friend, Balaram, who was a photographer. And they set out going to find every other Narasingha temples. And many of them were lost. They were Gupta and Lupta, hidden. And they went down rivers, they went through jungles, they went to mountaintops, and they took photographs. And all those temples and all those Narasingha Murtis, they published in this book. So now we're distributing this, and you should convince your friends and relatives and parents they should have this book in their home, on their altar, for protection. Because Narasingha Bhagavan protects us. But in order for us to accept that he will protect us, we can't just eat and sleep. We have to do some seva for Narasingha also. So just purchasing this book is a wonderful seva for Narasingha. And you keep him in your house, and your house is protected. You are protected. Everybody in that house is protected by Lord Narasingha. Because the Lord becomes obligated because you did some service for him. This is what Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita. That you render service to me, I can never repay you for that. I'm obligated. So there's a book table here. Anyone wants to see, please go have a look and see these wonderful Narasingha temples and murtis. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this evening, what time is the program?
So we have your schedule around 6 o'clock during the Abhishekam. You can be leading the Gita.
Okay, when is the Adivas? Is there an Adivas Kirtan?
Adivas is happening yesterday.
Oh, you already did it?
Yeah, yesterday.
Yesterday? Oh, okay. So we just come and do Hare Krishna Kirtan?
Kirtan and bhajan, and we can have.
Yeah, and okay. Very good. 6 o'clock?
Yeah, 6 o'clock. I guess.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So I'm very grateful, very thankful to Prabhuji. Taking for his time for Guru devotee, for the University devotee. Prabhuji also came in temple integration and did installations. So thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your wonderful Kirtan and Gaura Gaura is such a wonderful song we sang for our brothers, and also Radha Madha and Guru Puja is already led. So, कैसा लगा आप लोग? So again, today evening Prabhuji is leading Kirtan during Abhishek time. Very good. Yeah. So, I can tell you again the evening schedule. The 5 to 6. Not only 5 to 6. The morning, after the class, we have 12-hour Kirtan Mega. For this announcing evening programs, 5 to 6 Kirtan, and then 6 to 7 Abhishekam, and 7 to 7:30 spiritual talks at Prabhuji. And we also have 7:30 to 8 Gaura, 8 to 8:40 drama by BTS, but last schools we have children's training here. And 9 p.m. onward we have Prashadam for all the devotees. Along with Gaur Purnima, we are also celebrating holy festivals. But we are not using colors, but we are using flowers. So फूलों की होली क्या? फूल की होली, फूलों की होली.
It's a full holy, flower petal holy. Yeah, flower petal holy.
Yeah. So flower petals holy. We have brought 500 kgs flowers just to celebrate the. Very good. So you should be ready in the evening. And you will have very wonderful programs. And once again, you are also God Shakti Prabhu amongst us. So I will request you to also speak some of the aspects, maybe whatever you think.
Thank you. I just want to appreciate Vaiyasaki for your presentation this morning. It was very nice, it was very thorough. I got a number of insights from your presentation, things that I just hadn't considered before. I've heard all these guys for a long time. But when you were speaking about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's meeting with the katha, you mentioned that they began discussions from religious principles. Because the Kazi, he had to make sure there was two distinct religious groups in the geographical area that he was responsible for. And he had to make sure that there was peace on both sides. And so they began their discussion on a scriptural basis. Even though it mentioned he was afraid. You said that it was a peaceful demonstration. It's mostly peaceful, except for the people that were ripping apart his cars and things like that. So he was afraid. That's why he went into the room and he locked the door and keep them away. And you made a nice point here that that's kind of proof that he was a little bit of a coward. That he wasn't actually constructive. Then they had a nice discussion based on the scripture. And as you nicely pointed out, what Chaitanya was totally fluent in every scripture, and he was able to defeat the Kazi on the strength of his own scripture. And Srila Prabhupada explained to us that we also need to have that ability, that we can argue the point on whatever basis that the person we're speaking to is making their presentation. And there was a past time Prabhupada was in the airplane at 8 p.m. And sometimes he would have discussions with his disciples, and Prabhupada made some points, and then he asked whoever was with him, how you defeat it. How can I defeat Prabhupada? All that Prabhupada. And so then Prabhupada, when he saw about what he was speaking, then he defeated his own arguments. So just showing us that we to be effective preachers, we have to know everything, so to speak. We have to know the subject matter of the person we're speaking with. We have to know their strength, their understanding. When people would come to visit Srila Prabhupada, he would spend the initial time Because you want to find out, okay, where can I enter this man's consciousness, this woman's consciousness? You want to find out where they're thinking, what they're thinking about. And so he was a very, very good listener, but he used to use the presentation, not exactly against them, but to defeat them, and giving them a higher understanding. Anyhow, thank you very much. Very appreciate your presentation.
Hey Krishna, thank you so much for Vaiyasaki Prabhu. So, as Prabhu was saying, those are wonderful books. We have here Narasimha, The Lost Temples. So, any devotee who would like to purchase this book, you can take, and Prabhu is here. He is signing to you. You can sign the book. Prabhuji, you can say, be here.
Yeah.
He is signing the book.
Yeah, I can sign.
So Prabhuji can sign the book. And also, these days, Gaura Purnima, we are celebrating change of the marathon. So many devotees are taking this CC also. And but it's a special book, Prabhuji has brought very few copies we have here. I can take first. I'll be the first person to take. And all the devotees, they get purchase. Thank you so much. So next time, both the Srila Prabhupada disciples amongst us on the auspicious day of Gaura Purnima, let's loudly chant by thanking them. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Shri Shri Gaura Purnima Mahamahotsav ke, Shri Shri Radha Damodar Bhagavan ke, Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharaj Darshan ke, Shri Gaura Nitai ke, Shri Vinaya Prabhupada ke, His Vaiyasaki Prabhu ke, His Gaura Shakti Prabhu ke, all the glories to all the assembled devotees here. Thank you so much, Hari Bol. So the books are here. You can take first come, first serve. Very limited, please.